Hello everyone, this is Jason Williamson doing my very first instructional recording regarding Lightroom and photo editing and hard drives and data storage and all kinds of stuff. So um, I am an IT person, but I've been shooting photography for, not serious photography my entire time my kids have been around, but as the kids get older and your hardware gets better, of course your photography gets better. You buy better glass, better bodies. Right now I'm using the Canon 90D. I have quite a few Tamron and Canon lenses. Um, and I found myself going through life adding hard drives to my PC and realizing that eventually I reached a tipping point where I needed to stop adding individual hard drives inside and maybe think about something more redundant. So what I've done is, quickly here, I'm just going to add a folder and talk while it does the import, if you know what I mean. We've all done that because it takes some time to do those kinds of things. So here we go. All right, I'm just importing a folder from a motorcycle trip that I made. I rode from Des Moines, Iowa to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was about an 8-hour trip, plus a whole bunch of stops. And yeah, took a bunch of pictures while I was there. It was a lot of fun. So what I have here is I'm importing 370 pictures. They're all raw images, so they're pretty high quality images and large files. It's about 6.85 gigs, and I recently just did an import of the same folder on my local hard drive, and that took me 7 minutes to run that import. So, oops, I just did something wrong here. There we go. Okay. Lightroom suspected that I had duplicates of the pictures I already imported from my G drive. So that was kind of funny. Like, why wasn't this working? Okay, so we're going to start that import again. I am choosing Build Smart Previews so that as it adds them into the catalog file, they'll build extra data in there so that I can edit. These files are not stored in my machine. They're stored on an array of hard drives plugged into my network across my house. So looks like Lightroom is doing its thing here. Now we'll just talk while we're at it. Surely you all are used to dealing with hard drives, but these are a little bit different than what you or I would normally see. So typically, we would be seeing something like this inside of our computer or our laptop, tower PC. Could be in an enclosure, maybe sitting flat on your countertop and then hooked up to your machine by USB. Either way, these are what I'd call a typical spindle drive, because there's platters inside this space right here that spin, and then an arm that reads it kind of like a record player. Those hard drives are great. I had approximately 7 terabytes inside of my PC. That was, my life's collection of photos of my kids, and every DVD or Blu-ray I ever owned was ripped into a file into my hard drive and shared digitally across the house. Had all kinds of stuff going on. So I reached a point where instead of buying another hard drive, maybe a 4 or an 8 terabyte hard drive, I went ahead and looked into other options for storage. And what I wound up finding is, through my IT experience, this is what's called a network attached storage. It's an array of hard drives, and this is the one that I bought. It's the DiskStation 918 Plus by Synology. and it has 4 hard drives in it. So four 4 terabyte hard drives would normally be 16 terabytes worth of storage, but there's some funky math I'll tell you about here in a minute, where I lose one of those hard drives and the net size of this array is 12 terabytes, which is still lots of data. So it's one big 12 terabyte hard drive. Oh, and it happens to be redundant. There's the funky math I was talking about. As the data gets written, it gets written in a stripe across the hard drives. And there's an algorithm that makes it so that backup data for each file gets partially written to each of the hard drives in different places. And you can lose one hard drive. You can actually have one of them die. A little LED goes amber here, and maybe you get an email that tells you that there's a hard drive that's bad. And you can just pop it out and pop a new one in, and the backup data from the other hard drives will literally repopulate that drive. It's like, you know, a starfish losing a limb, and it just grows back, or a salamander or whatnot. Super handy device to have, and it's not very big. It's like the size of a toaster. There's 2 network connections on this puppy, and they're both 1 gigabit in speed, which my PC is also wired by Ethernet to my network switch in my utility room. It's 1 gigabit. This has 2 gigabits of throughput, so I can actually support myself and my kids streaming my music off of here. I have security cameras on the house recording to this hard drive array also, and it's just super handy to have. How that relates to photography is where I really want to get. And let's see here. I forgot to start the timer on this, but I would say, you know, we're probably at about 9:55 even, based on how much I've been talking so far. So we'll just do all right, just guessing there. I reached a point with my photography that, you know, I didn't want to risk having my PC be a single point of failure anymore for my pictures. And what I did is I wound up looking at some of the solutions that we use at work. Talk in shop with some of my coworkers and buddies, other geeks who have cool solutions. And I also talked to one photographer friend in Michigan. Jason was like, hey, how do I get one editing station to edit pictures that are on another editing station? So I started to talk to him about setting up a local network and shared folders. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this cool solution. I'll have to let you know how it turns out. And so far it's turning out great. The point of me showing this stuff to you guys through a photography point of view is I can actually store my pictures on this redundant hard drive array, and I can edit from them no problem. So in Jason's case, he can store all his pictures on this puppy, and then say it's him and 2 other editors maybe working on separate projects. They can all know that their pictures are backed up, that if a hard drive dies, they're not going to lose anything, and they can pretty much work and know that no files are stored on one single PC with 1 hard drive, and they can always access those files from anywhere. So pretty cool thing to know about, and I think that's going to take care of his solution pretty well. One caveat is I showed you how I did the build smart previews. I chose standard, it was on the top right of Lightroom here. I chose standard quality previews instead of minimal or 1-to-1 ratio. That should help with processing of the import and not take too long. So we're at 10 o'clock even now. So we're at 5 minutes. I'm guessing we're probably going to hit 8 minutes on this import, and that's not bad. I mean, considering that, well, from the local hard drive, it took 7 minutes. So that's not bad at all. That's transferring the pictures across the network for this PC to process them into its Lightroom catalog and build previews. So that's not much difference. And I'm going to go ahead and skip over into my folder here that's from my local hard drive, and just do some quick little browsing through my pictures. You'll at least my workflow, I tend to go through and do some edit marking on reviews, saying if I 1-star something that might be garbage, and if I 1-star, 1-star, maybe 3 stars something, or 2 stars, I might go back and cull, mass delete all the 1-stars. And notice as I'm clicking through these, I mean, the previews are, not the preview, but the actual picture is popping up pretty quick. And, no big deal. Just life as we all know it from these machines. Now, one thing I was worried about is I was going to lose, speed and the ability to work quickly. Because I shoot thousands of pictures, need to cull out hundreds of pictures, and that can take a while. But you can see, at least local hard drive performance, how this looks. And it's all probably what you all are used to on your machines as well. But on that note, I do have a pretty fast PC. It's 8 CPU cores at 3.7 gigahertz each, and I have 32 gigs of RAM. It's really the CPU that's the most important part here. And look at our import. It's just about done. Yeah, the import actually is done. So that's 7 minutes. Just the same. So yeah, 10:02. Almost the exact same time to import. And the throughput of a SATA hard drive, that's the type of hard drive, SATA hard drive inside of a PC should be about 6 gigabits a second. That's plenty fast. But the throughput of the NAS is at least a gigabit per second because the PC is connected to the network at a gigabit port. So it doesn't mean that that's actually how fast it really runs at, but I think that it does at least go to show there's plenty of throughput here to have this be stored somewhere else and have it work well. So moving on, as soon as these previews are done, actually I can already click on my Hardware Museum down here and start clicking through these. And remember, it's looking at the preview that it's built off the image. And but notice, the speed here, it's trucking right on through those images, and it seems like it's performing well. I think I'm tapping my arrow at about the same speed I did when I was looking through the local stuff, and seems to be about the same. So, hallelujah. If there's ever a fire in my house, there's 2 things I'm getting. One's my little fire safe, and the other one is this storage array, that's for sure. Even if I gotta jump out the front bedroom window and break open the egress window downstairs just to get in there and steal that sucker out, I'm gonna do it. But yeah, so performance is good. And let's see here, I'm gonna go ahead and select this first page of pictures, and I'm going to export those to my desktop. I'm going to put them in a bogus folder. 100% quality, and hit export. Just to show you how quickly that's going to work. 12 files. Start at about 35 seconds here. So 10 seconds-ish, give or take. Okay. And go up here to the same pictures, and I'm going to export those at 100%, not put in the subfolder. Actually, I will. We'll call it HD2. And export those. It almost looks like it's faster, maybe by a second, but that's pretty darn good considering that those files on the NAS are not stored locally. So it had to pull that information off the NAS into memory, into the RAM, and then do that export and then save the file off. So that was pretty good progress, and I think that should pretty much be a good test of, how somebody could use a NAS to store all their data and not really be hit with a performance, hit or slowness, based on the fact that it's not stored locally on your machine. So I hope this helps, and I'm not sure where else to go with the storage, besides maybe to suggest, the prices. I believe I paid somewhere around $1,200 for my storage. It was five something, I think, for the actual machine itself, and then another 400 for the hard drives. And because I'm a geek, I paid for a couple of extra little hard drives that sit in the bottom of the thing that helps speed it up, and I also paid for more RAM to go inside of it too. So I don't know that that's needed, and right now I don't even have the RAM installed. I only have the 4 gigs that it came with, but I bought 16. So it's not even running, my little Death Star is not running at full functioning power yet, but it's clearly doing exactly what I want it to do, and at a performance level that I can do my photography anywhere in my house, from my PC downstairs, or even its acceptable speed from my laptop upstairs in the bedroom, connected to my wireless. So anyway, any questions? I will leave my contact information with wherever I share this video, and feel free to ask any questions if you need.